41 years ago, I climbed into the driver's seat of an 18-wheel semi-truck with my beautiful wife, Jan, and our infant son, Scotty. We were taking a heavy load of construction materials across several states. In those days, there were no seatbelt restrictions or infant car seats. My wife held our precious son in her arms. Her comment, "We sure are high off the ground," should have given me a clue about her feelings of apprehension. As we made our descent over historic Donner Pass, a steep section of highway, the cab of the semi suddenly and unexpectedly filled with smoke, very thick smoke. It was difficult to see and we could hardly breathe. With a heavy rig, brakes alone are not enough to rapidly decrease speed. So using the engine brakes and gearing down, I frantically attempted to stop. Just as I was pulling to the side of the road, but before we had come to a full stop, my wife opened the door of the cab and jumped out with our baby in her arms. I watched helplessly as they tumbled in the dirt. As soon as I had the semi stopped, I bolted from the smoking cab. With adrenaline pumping, I ran through the rocks and weeds and held them in my arms. Jan's forearms and elbows were battered and bleeding, but thankfully, she and our son were both breathing. I just held them close as the dust settled on the side of the highway. As my heartbeat normalized and I caught my breath, I blurted out, "What in the world were you thinking? Do you know how dangerous that was? You could have been killed." She looked back at me with tears running down her smoke-smudged cheeks and said something that pierced my heart and still rings in my ears. "I was just trying to save our son." I realized in that moment, she thought the engine was on fire, fearing the truck would explode and we would die. I, however, knew it was an electrical failure, hazardous but not fatal. I looked at my precious wife, softly rubbing the head of our infant son, Scotty, and wondered what kind of woman would do something so courageous and utterly irrational. This situation could have been as emotionally hazardous as our literal engine failure. Gratefully, after enduring the silent treatment for a reasonable amount of time, each of us believing the other person was at fault, we finally expressed the emotions that were churning beneath our heated outbursts. Shared feelings of love and fear for the other's safety kept the hazardous incident from proving fatal to our cherished marriage. Paul warned, "Let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but only that which is good and edifying, that it may minister grace unto the hearers." His words resonate with purity. What does the phrase "no corrupt communication" mean to you? We all regularly experience highly charged feelings of anger, our own and others. We have seen unchecked anger erupt in public places. We have experienced it as a sort of emotional electrical short at sporting events, in the political arena, and even in our own homes. Children sometimes speak to beloved parents with tongues as sharp as blades. Spouses who have shared some of life's richest and most tender experiences lose vision and patience with each other and raise their voices. Each of us, though covenant children of a loving Heavenly Father, have regretted jumping headlong from the high seat of self-righteous judgment and spoken with abrasive words before we understood a situation from another's perspective. We have all had the opportunity to learn how destructive words can take a situation from hazardous to fatal.